was a better person than I knew I was.
Hey folks, let's spend some time with some friends up north. I'm Ben Cominos from WHBY in Appleton. Joining us from WCPT in Chicago is Patty Vasquez, and from the Minocqua Brewing Company, here's Kirk Bangstad. We've got the usual suspects from our Substack page with us, as well as a special guest or two. Wherever you are, welcome, you're up north.
I'm just waiting for, there they are. North Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Take it away, Kirk Bangstad.
Hey, Patty, it's good to see you again. Thanks for being here. Everyone that hasn't been listening to Patty's show at WCPT in Chicago, 8:20 a.m., we have just started with both Patty and our usual suspects, which include Ben Cominos from Outside the Box, which is WHBY in White Hot. What's it again, Ben?
Appleton.
No, not Appleton, but the how am I supposed to remember the mnemonic device is just
Yeah, no, it's Where Hot Boys Yodel.
Where Hot Boys Yodel, WHBY. Something sounds terrible about that. And then obviously I'm Kirk Bangstad from the Minocqua Brewing Company, and we have with us retired Colonel George Mason, who he forces me to call him Mason, even though he just has too many honorable names before that. So it's really hard for me to do that. Thank you, Mason, for joining us tonight, my friend.
No worries, Kirk. Good to see all of you, Patty, Ben.
Hello.
All right.
Good to be here.
So
thank you.
In this hour, we are the reason we brought Colonel Mason to the show tonight is that we're going to be talking for the whole hour on Iran and what's happening there. Colonel Mason has been, in the darn army and in the Pentagon for his entire career. And so he's got a lot of things to say and a lot of insights that the average folk like us don't know. So without further ado, Patty, can you kind of just bring us up to speed on what has happened and where we are, including what just happened about a half hour ago with that vote?
I don't have the update. Do I have the update on the vote? Because I've been on the air. So thank you for
you'll
have to tell me. Yeah.
Is
I can jump into it here, Kirk. It's 53-47. It did fail. Rand Paul ended up siding with the Democrats, whereas John Fetterman ended up siding with the Republicans. Otherwise, it was a party line vote. Yes, no. So essentially where it stands right now is Donald Trump has unchecked control over the way things are trending right now because no one has the guts to stop it, it looks like.
Jeez.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you, the Peanut Gallery. We appreciate that. Thank you. So I think a lot of folks who woke up on Saturday surprised to learn that we were at war, and that was the word he used. By the way, he said that we were going to lose service members in war because that's what happens. At any rate, U.S. and Israel launched Operation Epic Fury on February 28th, 2026, without a congressional vote. The strikes killed Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. As of March 3rd, which was day 4, that's today, 6 American service members have been confirmed killed. We're not supposed to talk about it because it makes the president look bad. 18 more seriously wounded. Trump told CNN the big wave hasn't even happened. The big one is coming soon, and says the operation will last 4 to 5 weeks, but could go far longer. Secretary Rubio says the next phase will be even more punishing. Article 1 of the Constitution gives Congress the power to declare war, by the way. The White House notified only the Gang of 8 congressional leaders shortly before the attack, rather than seeking authorization. Senators Tim Kaine from Virginia, Rand Paul from Kentucky, introduced by, this is what we're talking about as far as the war powers resolution, as Ben just gave you the update on that. So there we have it.
All right, so that's what's happened up until now. Ben, in the next segment, we're going to talk about what will happen and why we're doing this with Colonel Mason. But set the stage. Tell us about United States aggression since Trump has been in office. We have to give ourselves a little context here.
Yeah, it's in a lot of ways it's been kind of quiet, all things considered, because people. I mean, quiet from a population standpoint. He has been very loud, but there really hasn't been as much pushback as you would expect. We're talking about 7 different countries over the course of 15 different months here. Starting in 2025, we saw Iraq, we saw Yemen, we saw Nigeria, and we saw Iran. And then in 2026, we saw Somalia again, we saw Syria again, we saw Venezuela again, and we saw Iran again. Nigeria, Iran, and one of the other ones as well. And I apologize, I'm blanking on which one it was, but 3 of the 7 that he has bombed, he exclusively has done since 2001. He is the only one to have bombed those countries. And as of yesterday, or it might have even been this morning, it's all running together. We've also started a conflict with Ecuador. And that one is kind of floating under the radar right now. Just an 8th country now that's being bombed, again with access to oil fields, again with access to different minerals that we would need. It's as I mentioned, it's been quiet from a population standpoint because we're dealing with ICE, we're dealing with all this garbage that we have to deal with every single day. But it's one of the more active bombing campaigns that we have seen from a president in this century.
All right, so the big questions are why Iran, why now, and what's the real reasons that this is happening? Because it just, these things come out of nowhere, and this is what Trump has been doing in his whole presidency. I'm going to run through just some of the possibilities, and then if we make it before break, George, let's just Mason, let's keep on going. So ultimately,
$20.
$20, Ben. He said George.
I heard it.
They say before we got on, if I say George and not Mason because he is a colonel of the people, I'm supposed to pay the kitty. So I guess $20. I'm lost now. We won't use it to buy sushi for you, Ben. That's for sure.
Good.
Okay, so there's a lot of people have been talking about why we have started a war with Iran, and there's just so many theories. One is that we're doing the bidding of Israel, and that Netanyahu's got some dirt on Trump, and we're basically their war plaything. The second is that obviously there's a ton of oil in Iran. Do we want other oil? Do we want to disrupt oil going to other superpowers? There's a bunch of Gulf states that are really rich, and somehow Jared Kushner, who is Trump's son-in-law, has been talking to all of them. They're also doing real estate deals with Trump Real Estate. Is it possible that these countries want Trump to start a war with Iran? Obviously, we've got the Epstein files that are just creeping up. Just yesterday or just last week, there was this bombshell was released that they were questioning an underage girl about Trump raping her, and somehow that investigation stopped over the last few years.
67,000 files disappeared since Monday. Good luck.
Yeah. And then
I had people searching 13-year-old bites Trump's member, and they didn't.
Wow.
Yeah, that was in the files. That was what she was alleging, and they didn't follow up on that. I'm just saying, good.
Yeah.
And then we've got, just this executive power. It's basically the old, manifest destiny. We're just going to take over as much stuff as we can. Sorry, press the dump button, Patty. Press the dump button. Sorry. We're going to take
so far
over
away
as much
from me now.
Stuff as we can. So those are all of the possibilities, and I went from most important to maybe least important. Also, he might be doing this so we stay into war so that he can call some executive action to just cancel the elections as well. We can't forget about that option. George, we have 5 minutes before the break, so let's get into it. Let's talk about what you think is the real reason we just invaded Iran.
$20, Kirk. That's
Sorry.
40 so far.
Great.
Okay, so Kirk, I'm going to run through this as quickly as I can. So Israel is calling this Operation Lion's Roar. Okay. And I want you to listen to this quote from Benjamin Netanyahu from the 28th of February. Quote, Israel and the United States embarked on a joint campaign, Operation Lion's Roar. Now, the U.S. is not calling it that. But Netanyahu is saying the U.S. joined his joint campaign, Operation Lion's Roar. Next quote from Netanyahu. This operation will continue as long as necessary. For 47 years, the evil regime in Iran has called for death to Israel, death to America. I'm going to say again, this operation will continue as long as necessary. He made both of those statements on February 28th, 2026. I'm going to go through the Israeli objectives. Okay. There's three of them. Destroy missile infrastructure, air defenses, command and control nodes, and elements of the nuclear program. Destroy proxy forces and capabilities. Hezbollah in Lebanon, any remnant Palestinian forces or capabilities, Islamic resistance in Iraq, those are Shia, and Shia Houthi in Yemen. And we haven't heard from the Houthi yet. I think they're waiting to see what's going to happen, but they will get involved at some point in time. And then the third, regime change. This is Israel's end state. A severely weakened Iran, incapable of missile production and the ability to create nuclear weapons, and unable to continue to support proxy forces' ability to attack Israel.
George,
I'm going to take a brief pause.
Mason, take a brief pause. Your audio is great, but your video is frozen on our side of things. And is it because you are reading from your PowerPoint deck, potentially? Oh, yeah.
It was. Sorry,
Okay.
that's my bad.
Oh, it's all good. We just couldn't see your smile and can't read your facial expressions when you're actually giving us amazing information. So I want to.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to my notes. Next time I'll print them out.
Yeah.
But because I think this is important for people to hear these details, the objectives and the end state. Okay.
Yep.
Lesson learned for me. You know, I'm like a podcast virgin. So
no, it's all good. It's good.
You're doing great. Oh my God.
No,
Please.
So,
all right. So now let me give you the USA's perspective. Operation Epic Fury.
you got a minute, George.
This is the USA. Combat operations continue at this time in full force, and they will continue until all of our objectives are achieved. We have very strong objectives. Obviously, that's Trump. We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. This is key. We knew that would precipitate an attack against American forces, and we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties. Marco Rubio, March 2nd. How are we doing on time?
I've got about 10 seconds here. So let's pause and we'll take a break and come back with our incredible broadcast of Up North podcast. So far, this is one of my favorite shows because we're getting great information from the general. Did you say general?
Colonel.
I apologize.
Colonel. No, I said F you when General was in the works. My youngest daughter's school was more important at that time.
Oh, I love that. That's a colonel. Now I'm demoting you. Colonel Mason, Ben Cominos, Kirk Banks, and more in a moment on WCPT 820 and KKNW 1150 and KTNF AM 950. Thank you all for being here.
Believe it or not, this podcast takes a lot of work behind the scenes to make Kirk & Company look like they know what they're doing. And a lot of the money that goes to pay our producers and editors comes from the sale of Progressive Beer. The Monaco Brewing Company sells Progressive Beer all throughout Wisconsin, Minnesota, Illinois, and online to about 30 states. Never seen it? That's likely because we've been banned by distributors for our unapologetically progressive voice. To find where you can buy Progressive Beer, go to MonacoBrewingCompany.com and click the Retail Locations tab. That's MonacoBrewingCompany.com and click Retail Locations. We get it. Your liver is under constant attack. Alcohol is a dictator that takes away your freedom. It distracts while doing its dirty work. It weakens your judicial system and governing bodies. If you give it too much power, you'll never be the same. We have the solution. 8647 THC Hop Water. Zero alcohol, 0 calories, tastes like patriotism. 8647 THC Hop Water. Liberate your liver. Buy 8647 THC Hop Water and Joint Session, our THC Orange Cooler, by going to thc.monacobrewingcompany.com. That's thc.monacobrewingcompany.com. The Up North podcast is sponsored by the Monaco Brewing Company, who sells progressive beer online across the country. If you like the show today, please consider buying one of our beer subscription packages for yourself or a loved one. You can subscribe to the Democrat, the Liberal, and the Progressive. which delivers four packs of beer to your door for 6 months, a year, or 2 years. To find where you can subscribe to get Progressive Beer delivered to your door every month, go to MonacoBrewingCompany.com and click Progressive Beer. That's MonacoBrewingCompany.com and click Progressive Beer. The Monaco Brewing Company is excited to partner with Brouhaha Coffee to create woke coffee. Get woke, go broke. That's what they say, right? Au contraire, mon frère. This gourmet coffee was awarded 2025 Roast of the Year at the Coffee Break Festival in Wisconsin, and it comes in both medium and dark roasts. Support our political action and enjoy fabulous coffee at the same time. For our Up North podcast listeners, go to the MonacoMarketplace.com, find coffee under the beverage tab, and type in Up North to get 10% off your order. That's MonacoMarketplace.com and use the promo code UpNorth.
Where facts matter.
We are coming back with the Up North podcast. Our fearless leader, Kirk Bangstad, takes it away.
Okay, George, before we went to break, you're basically telling us that Israel has somehow gotten leverage over the United States, and basically their goals are to kind of make sure that Iran is completely defanged, and somehow they've made their goals our goals, and our army is at their disposal. Is that the gist of what's happening right now?
Okay, so we have a lot of people in this administration and in positions of influence throughout our government, think tanks, who are pro-Israel. Benjamin Netanyahu I can't remember if it was an interview or something where he said, for 40 years, I've been trying to get a U.S. president to get on side with regards to Iran. So we are, so I told you what, when we left for the break, I told you what Marco Rubio had said, right?
Yep.
The Israelis were going to act, and that might cause Iran to strike U.S. facilities and bases. So we had to act too. The bottom line is Israel is calling the shots for this operation. And you heard what I said about Benjamin Netanyahu's quote. The U.S. joined Israel in Operation Lion's Roar. Okay?
Yep.
This isn't Israel joined the U.S., an ally joined the U.S. We do not have operational, in terms of operational planning and execution, primacy here. You know they've been working on this for a hot minute together, okay? Yep. But let me go back to the U.S. objectives, okay?
Yep.
So we talked about the Israeli objectives. Here are the U.S. objectives, and they've been characterized in a few different locations, but destroy Iranian offensive missiles and missile production, destroy their navy and other security infrastructure, destroy any capability to manufacture nuclear weapons. Now, I saw a fascinating article that was published by the International Atomic Energy Agency, the UN arm. Not one single site in Iran has been struck since February 28th that had anything to do with nuclear production or infrastructure. Not one, because they were already hit in June. Okay, so Natanz, Fordow, Isfahan, none of those have been struck. The only thing associated with any of that that has been struck is a missile testing site outside one of those facilities. Okay, this is not about nuclear weapons. Okay, otherwise they would have double or triple tapped those targets. Yep. Okay, U.S. regime change. Okay, they want that. The United States end state, and once again, like everything I'm telling everybody on this podcast, this is open source and my brain. I signed some things that said I can't talk about certain stuff. None of this is that.
Yep.
This is me, a private citizen with military experience who knows how stuff works,
Yep.
saying these things. So the U.S. end state, a severely weakened Iran, incapable of missile production and the ability to create nuclear weapons, and unable to influence the region. Now, Kirk, we're doing good on time. I'm gonna go to what Iran is doing.
Okay.
Okay, because no one's talking about that.
Well, I think we might be able to hit Iran in the next one because aren't we going to talk about what Iran needs to do to wait out America?
Yeah, we can. I can save this for that, brother.
Save that for that because George and I talked, Mason and I talked before, and
$80.
This makes a lot of sense to me. But I wanted to address some of the other things that are floating around, in why in the heck we're bombing Iran, and they all, and we have a war with Iran, and they all kind of work together in pieces. And it's not like they're mutually exclusive, but there are a lot of B-level, C-level, reasons why Trump might be doing this. So Ben, talk to us about the oil piece of this puzzle.
Yeah, so you kind of touched on it a little bit there, Mason, but I find it, and maybe this is tinfoil hat territory, so you tell me how far off base I am. But I don't think it's a coincidence that we handled our business in Venezuela before we went and did this, given their access to crude oil. We're watching the bombing act in Ecuador, and as we know, both Venezuela and Iran were pivotal in providing oil access for China, who a lot of people in this country view as an enemy. I view as an economic competitor, but I recognize there's a hell of a contingency viewing them as an enemy. How much does what we're watching, is there a chance, I'm not taking away from a single thing you said about Israel, but is there a chance that in the perception of some people here, there's some kind of goals aligning? And also, just as a secondary question as well, I don't know if you saw the reporting, but apparently 30 different base leaders are referring to this as like a holy war almost, that this was brought about, that Donald Trump is here doing things like divinely. And it seems like that attitude is permeating some of the armed forces as well. Have you heard anything about that, or have you read anything about that as well? So oil and then that, yeah.
Let me address the oil, and then we'll come back to that. So there is a nexus here. If Iranian oil flows slow or stop, most of what Iran sends outside their country goes to Asia. So, excuse me, China consumes about 19% of their oil exports and 20% of Qatar's liquid natural gas exports. And there's the Straits of Hormuz. Okay. So Iran, they have oil. I do not intrinsically believe that this particular instance is primarily about oil. Okay. I don't believe that. I believe this is about the U.S. backstopping Netanyahu's dream that he's held for 40 years of putting Iran in the back seat. Will Iranian oil exports impact China, India, and other Asian countries? Yes, they will. Does that benefit the U.S. per se? I mean, to shift to those markets, and realize I spent a year at Harvard, which is overrated, studying global energy policy thanks to the U.S. taxpayers. But I don't believe that has primacy here. But let's talk about your other statement for a second. So there's an organization called the Military Religious Freedom Foundation, and it's run by a guy named Mike Weinstein. Okay. He was interviewed by someone yesterday. There was one complaint that Mike Weinstein posted, allegedly involving 15 people underneath someone who was complaining for them. And then he posted that 200 other complaints had come in. However, when questioned, those were complaints about other religious issues in the military.
Got it.
So
Mason, we got to roll to a commercial, my friend, but
all right.
we will get back and finish your thought. In
Yes,
a little bit.
please. I'm absolutely I'm captivated by this entire conversation. You're listening to the Up North podcast. We'll return in just a moment on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal, KKNW 1150 and KTNF AM 950, brought to you by Minocqua Brewing Company. Also, thank you to our sponsors, Source Solar and Pride Coffee Roasters. We'll be right back after this.
Believe it or not, this podcast takes a lot of work behind the scenes to make Kirk & Company look like they know what they're doing. And a lot of money that goes to pay our producers and editors comes from the sale of our progressive t-shirts. The Minocqua Brewing Company sells t-shirts to supplement our beer sales because we've been banned by beer distributors for our unapologetically progressive voice. To find where you can buy our t-shirts, go to MinocquaMarketplace.com and go to apparel. For Up North podcast listeners, get 10% off on all of our merch by going to MinocquaMarketplace.com and typing in promo code UpNorth. That's MinocquaMarketplace.com, promo code UpNorth. The Up North podcast is sponsored by the Minocqua Marketplace, or what we like to call the Amazon for progressives. Every product sold on the Minocqua Marketplace is made by a company that's pledged to never donate money to the MAGA movement. There's over 60 companies on our marketplace, and we sell everything from nuts to detergents to doormats. Save democracy with your wallet by shopping only at MinocquaMarketplace.com. For Up North podcast listeners, save 10% on any order in the store by going to MinocquaMarketplace.com and typing in promo code UpNorth. That's MinocquaMarketplace.com, promo code UpNorth. We get it. Your liver is under constant attack. Alcohol is a dictator that takes away your freedom. It distracts while doing its dirty work. It weakens your judicial system and governing bodies. If you give it too much power, you'll never be the same. We have the solution. 8647 THC Hop Water. Zero alcohol, 0 calories, tastes like patriotism. 8647 THC Hop Water. Liberate your liver. Buy 8647 THC Hop Water and Joint Session, our THC Orange Cooler, by going to thc.minocquabrewingcompany.com. That's thc.minocquabrewingcompany.com. The Minocqua Brewing Company is excited to partner with Brouhaha Coffee to create woke coffee. Get woke, go broke. That's what they say, right? Au contraire, mon frère. This gourmet coffee was awarded 2025 Roast of the Year at the Coffee Break Festival in Wisconsin, and it comes in both medium and dark roasts. Support our political action and enjoy fabulous coffee at the same time. For our Up North podcast listeners, go to the MinocquaMarketplace.com, find coffee under the beverage tab, and type in Up North to get 10% off your order. That's MinocquaMarketplace.com and use the promo code UpNorth. Believe it or not, this podcast takes a lot of work behind the scenes to make Kirk & Company look like they know what they're doing. And a lot of money that goes to pay our producers and editors comes from the sale of our progressive t-shirts. The Minocqua Brewing Company sells t-shirts to supplement our beer sales because we've been banned by beer distributors for our unapologetically progressive voice. To find where you can buy our t-shirts, go to MinocquaMarketplace.com and go to apparel. For Up North podcast listeners, get 10% off on all of our merch by going to MinocquaMarketplace.com and typing in promo code UpNorth. That's MinocquaMarketplace.com, promo code UpNorth.
Important conversation. Of course, our fearless leader, Kirk Bangstad, taking it away once again to continue our conversation.
Awesome. Okay, so we've been talking about why the heck we are in Iran. Retired Colonel George Mason has basically said that we are following Benjamin Netanyahu's plan that he's had for decades, and he's somehow got the leverage over America to make us do his bidding in Israel and use our might to take out Iran. We've talked about some of the potential oil issues going on in the region, obviously, and we cannot forget that the Epstein file scandal is hot and heavy in America. There's so many people, progressives, who are saying, and Thomas Massey, and Ro Khanna, who are saying, we're not going to forget, no matter what new wars you create, we're not going to forget. Patty, what's going on in your mind? How does this kind of play in? How does the Iran war, Epstein files, play into the Iran war?
Oh, I think that I've been talking about this for the last few days, and look, every single time we even attempt to have a conversation about it, whether it's Pam Bondi saying, "Well, the Dow Jones, how dare you ask me these questions when the Dow Jones is over 50,000," and then having hearings with Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, when there were no allegations ever about Clinton. I mean, it seems to me that this isn't. It feels like it is entirely that, and I'm trying to flip through my notes to find what I'm supposed to be talking about, because I believe Israel has the same files. I mean, people are being prosecuted all over the world based on the information that's being released in these files. So I don't know.
Is it possible, Patty, that they have something on Trump, and that's why we have to invade Iran because of what they have on Trump and what they have on other people in the Epstein world?
Yeah, I mean that. Look, we've had this sort of speculation for over a decade when we thought that Russia might have intel on him, and that's why he was licking Putin's boots too. So I did find I did find it. So the thing is that the FBI's PowerPoint lists the allegation that Epstein introduced the 13-year-old we talked about in the last segment when the girl that alleged that he raped her, that she was forced to give him oral gratification, that she bit him, and that he hit her. And the fact that that's not a story is galling. I mean, like that all of MAGA isn't losing their minds over that. I mean, seems to be a part of the reason to bury that headline with a war. That's what I'm just saying.
I hear you. Now, so we just talked about some of the tangential reasons that we're at war, things that might benefit U.S. and the Trump regime. Colonel Mason, I want to go back to your career has been spent. Once a war starts, you've been executing it and planning it and strategizing it, and then potentially ending it. Tell us what we're going to expect in the next, until the elections, basically, with how this plays out between us and Iran.
Yeah. So let's talk about Iran first, because in any conflict, the enemy has a vote. Okay, they always do. So I'm going to read you a little bit about what Iran's position on all this is, because I guarantee you the average American does not hear this.
Got it.
Okay, they don't. So Iran's operation is called Operation True Promise 4. That is their operational name for the response to the attack by Israel and the United States. And I'll read you these quotes. "The time has come to defend the homeland and confront the enemy's military assault. We will give them a lesson. We will give a lesson to them that they have never experienced in their history. Any base in the entire region that helps Israel will be a target of the sacred system of the Islamic Republic, and we will show no leniency." Next quote. "We will probably have a longer conflict, and it will be a war of attrition. Endurance and patience are essential to get through these days." Okay, so you heard me talk about Netanyahu's quote, "as long as it takes."
Yeah.
And here's Iran saying it will be longer conflict and it will be a war of attrition. Those were statements by Iranian officials on the 28th of February, 2026. The Iranian objectives are these: preserve the regime, defend Iran's missile and drone stockpile and production capability. And we're hearing a lot of talk about missiles, but nobody's talking about drones. The Shahed drone missile or drone system is what they have been sending to Russia to use against Ukraine for the last 5 years. It is estimated that Iran has 80,000 Shahed drones in its inventory on day one. I think personally they've probably expended about 1,000, maybe 2. Do the math. Okay. Next, retaliate against aggressors' infrastructure throughout the region to create a negative view towards Israel. Okay. They want to leverage Arab states traditional position towards Israel by punishing them and blaming it on Israel. There's going to be traction for that over time. Not necessarily from the governments, but from the people of those Arab regimes. Next, cause global economic pressure by closing the Straits of Hormuz. Yesterday, the Straits of Hormuz were closed. So my first deployment in the military was 1984. Guess where I was? Just south of the Straits of Hormuz. And when you steam up that strait, if you're in a ship in the middle of the navigational channel, you can see both sides. So you tell me how hard it is for Iran to shut that down whenever they want to.
So I talked about this for 40 minutes today during my show, Mason, and I'm just interested. How dangerous, because Donald Trump is talking right now about using the Navy to escort boats to make sure that it stays open. And I kind of talked, I didn't live it. I was born in 87. You were doing this 3 years before I was born. How likely is it that these people in the Navy are going to be able to, how dangerous is this? Because you're describing it in a way that actually seems like it's even more perilous than what I was envisioning.
So let's take my numbers of 80,000. Let's cut them. Let's say they have 50,000 Shahed drones. Okay.
Yeah.
Shahed drones can be transported in the back of a truck and a trailer with a rack, a launching rack, with 4 drones per rack. Okay. So the Shahed drone, the average range is about 600 miles. They go up to 1,200, some of the models. So obviously, if the U.S. attempts to send a warship through the Straits of Hormuz, man, I don't want to be on that ship. And they've got CIWS, they've got capabilities, CRAM, they've got counter drone and missile capabilities. But imagine a U.S. ship or two escorting something through those straits and having 5,000 drones. Okay.
Now,
I don't want to be on that ship.
Yeah.
So Mason, when we were talking earlier, their goals are to close down Hormuz and to win. I mean, their goal is to exist and win. I want to go back to our conversation earlier where they need to exist for 120 days. Why do they need to exist for 120 days? Let me
run the timeline. And Iran doesn't need to win. They need not to lose. Okay, that's critical for everyone's understanding.
Yep.
So February 28th, 2026, I'm going to run a timeline here. Trump regime initiates Operation Epic Fury, and Israel initiates Lion's Roar. March 3rd, 2026, report to Congress on combat operations. This date is key because the War Powers Resolution or War Powers Act, the act is also named, if you read the text, the resolution, states that that date is where the clock starts. Okay? This is 1973, this was passed. April 2nd, 2026, under the War Powers Resolution of 1973, Congress must have a draft bill to end or support the military operation. May 2nd, 2026, Congress must pass a bill to end or support the military operation. May 29th, 2026, the ability for the administration to continue combat operations under Section 5B3 ends because the law itself gives them an additional 30 days grace, given certain circumstances, which are quite broad, so they'll use them. May 30th, 2026, first opportunity for a lawsuit against the Trump administration for the violation of the War Powers Act.
George, let's back up a little bit. So you just went through the things that our Congress can do to stop Trump's escalation of the war and to get us out. Now, that's like 60 or to 90 days. If we actually like pass that act and stop Trump and he doesn't stop, that's what you're talking about right now. Somebody needs to sue him, and somebody needs to sue him. And what happens if they sue him, and where's that going to go?
So we get there, like on my timeline, the last moment for that is May 30th. It could happen at any time. Okay. But May 30th, the drop dead. And then looking at that, probably mid-June, because this is going to get fast-tracked to the Supreme Court, right? That's what's going to happen. It's going to get fast-tracked. That's 107 days from the start of the conflict.
Which means Iran needs to last 100 until then, and if they hope to get out of this conflict, if they hope for us not to bomb
I'm saying a
them to
minimum
oblivion.
of 120, because there has to be a buffer in case something goes on in our courts. So Iran's goal, and I'm going to read you their end state. The regime is preserved. Iranian defense capabilities still exist and can be rebuilt, and Iran's power still influences the region 120 days from the start of what Iran is calling Operation True Promise 4. Okay? So they need to survive. Let's say the estimate of their drone capacity is overrated. Let's say they only have 50, not 80. They are going to stretch that out. They are going to preserve their ballistic missile capability for as long as they can, only launching when they think they have an excellent chance of success.
I want to thank you so much for what you've shared with us and keeping us informed. I hope we get to talk to you again, sir. Again, that's a retired Army Colonel Mason filling us in. And I'm not terrified. I'm not terrified at all, sir. But I do look forward to talking to you again. We'll continue the Up North podcast in just a moment. I know you have to leave. Are you taking leave of us? This
I have the first board meeting for the Wisconsin Committee of Safety tonight.
Okay.
Which is focused on preserving our elections in the state of Wisconsin.
Well, that we need we need to talk to you about that again, sir. Have a good evening and thank you for everything. We appreciate it. We'll be right back with the Up North podcast in just a moment, brought to you by Minocqua Brewing Company. Thank you for hanging out with us. It's an important conversation.
It's the democracy.
Believe it or not, this podcast takes a lot of work behind the scenes to make Kirk & Company look like they know what they're doing. And a lot of the money that goes to pay our producers and editors comes from the sale of Progressive Beer. The Minocqua Brewing Company sells Progressive Beer all throughout Wisconsin, Minnesota, Illinois, and online to about 30 states. Never seen it? That's likely because we've been banned by distributors for our unapologetically progressive voice. To find where you can buy Progressive Beer, go to MinocquaBrewingCompany.com and click the Retail Locations tab. That's MinocquaBrewingCompany.com and click Retail Locations. The Up North podcast is sponsored by the Minocqua Marketplace, or what we like to call the Amazon for Progressives. Every product sold on the Minocqua Marketplace is made by a company that's pledged to never donate money to the MAGA movement. There's over 60 companies on our marketplace, and we sell everything from nuts to detergents to doormats. Save democracy with your wallet by shopping only at MinocquaMarketplace.com. For Up North podcast listeners, save 10% on any order in the store by going to MinocquaMarketplace.com and typing in promo code UpNorth. That's MinocquaMarketplace.com, promo code UpNorth. The Up North podcast is sponsored by the Minocqua Brewing Company, who sells Progressive Beer online across the country. If you like the show today, please consider buying one of our beer subscription packages for yourself or a loved one. You can subscribe to the Democrat, the Liberal, and the Progressive, which delivers four packs of beer to your door for 6 months, a year, or 2 years. To find where you can subscribe to get Progressive Beer delivered to your door every month, go to MinocquaBrewingCompany.com and click Progressive Beer. That's MinocquaBrewingCompany.com and click Progressive Beer. Believe it or not, this podcast takes a lot of work behind the scenes to make Kirk & Company look like they know what they're doing. And a lot of money that goes to pay our producers and editors comes from the sale of our Progressive t-shirts. The Minocqua Brewing Company sells t-shirts to supplement our beer sales because we've been banned by beer distributors for our unapologetically progressive voice. To find where you can buy our t-shirts, go to MinocquaMarketplace.com and go to Apparel. For Up North podcast listeners, get 10% off on all of our merch by going to MinocquaMarketplace.com and typing in promo code UpNorth. That's MinocquaMarketplace.com, promo code UpNorth.
Play WCPT.
Okay, we are back.
The countdown. We're back with the Up North podcast. Sorry, everybody. I was responding to messages. Apologize. Hi, we're back. Hi, everyone.
Awesome.
Hello.
Hey, thank you so much, Patty, for bringing us back and being on our show. This is our last segment, and we've talked about why the heck we were in Iran. Retired Colonel Mason just left us, but what his last thought before we went to break was Iran's goal is to outlast America's will, our Congress's will, to pull us out of this war, which 27% of America thinks that we should be at war right now. Nobody, not even MAGA, wants to be in Iran at the moment. And so their goal is to just stay alive, to not get bombed to oblivion until we can sue and get to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court can supposedly tell Trump he's got to leave because our Senate has voted that out or voted against war. Now, what happens if our bought and paid for Supreme Court, even if we sue to stop being in Iran, which our Congress might have the will to do, it should have the will to do, but we may still lose because our Supreme Court is bought and sold, and that gives us an endless war in Iran, which then gives Trump the ability to say that we are at war during the November elections, and it gives him the ability to pull all these shenanigans over the elections and say Iranians or other sneaky immigrants might be trying to vote to hurt our war effort. And so we're going to make sure only American citizens can vote, and you have to present your passport in order to vote, which very few Americans actually have, which disenfranchises us. It disenfranchises women because a lot of their last names aren't on passports, all that SAVE Act stuff. So that's the kind of the final thought of how dangerous this war is, and we need the checks and balances along the way. We need our Supreme Court to come through. We need our Congress to come through to get us out of this war. It's very scary to see if that happens. Now, Ben, I want to move to this last segment. What is the rest of the world thinking about us right now?
Yeah, well, just for some perspective, you mentioned that 27% number that I've seen as well. Vietnam in its last year was polling at 29% favorability. So after everybody kind of understood how bad it was domestically, we are starting there. Give it 6 more months. You tell me how people feel about it. As far as around the world goes, and I speculated this surrounding 2001, and I'm interested. I want to ask a question back to you guys about it. You remember when France was the only country that didn't buy into the concept of WMDs, and as a result, it became freedom fries, right? And I was 13 years old. We were essentially bred to hate France because they wouldn't go along for the ride. This feels so obviously propagandized. Nobody around the world is buying it. The people in the country are not buying it. And I have a genuine question. Was the propaganda better during 9/11, or am I just older? And it's more obvious to me that what we're dealing with here is fabricated, that there are we know there's no nukes. Mason laid it out there. Like, we know the WMDs are fake this time around. We know there's no reason other than what Israel wants. The rest of the world knows this. Was it this obvious last time?
It wasn't. Here's the thing. I was actually talking about this in the last hour. When 9/11 happened, I was working at a comedy club, and I remember like a server, the man, they were all talking about how we should wipe Afghanistan off the planet. That was the energy that a lot of people had. So it wasn't just that the propaganda was better. It was that our emotions were in a different place, obviously, than we are now. I would say that's the most succinct way I can say that.
So, Ben, the unfortunate reality is, and I talked to Mason about this earlier today, is as soon as we see American military's bodies badly burned and mangled in war, we're going to start getting really angry at Iran. And our emotions are then going to say, we're going to stay in this war and we're going to beat the living crap out of these guys, because our emotions are going to be with the American, as they should. We don't want to see our young men and women get blown to smithereens, but that's what's going to lead us further and further into it.
So to answer your question, then we're not rallying our allies. We're not I think this is going to do terrible standing to us internationally, because if it does get to that point and the allies have to also get involved for a war that no one can really pinpoint why it's happening, we basically would be Israel at that point. Like, honest to God, like that's how we'd be to everybody else in NATO.
Well, I mean, so it's like Canada, China, Europe. Canada signed a trade deal with China because they can trust China better. They can trust us.
Right.
They're talking. Europe thinks Europe can't trust us, and so the alignment. We are the axis of evil right now, and we are somehow aligned, and that includes Israel and Russia. Somehow or another, we're the aggressors. We're the ones bombing everybody. And it will lead to isolation, and it will lead, to what? I mean, so to what, Patty? I mean, what will Iran? You wrote an article about this on Monday. You talked about the history of Iran. They hate us because we screwed with them in 1950.
Yeah, we decimated their democracy, their own free will in their path forward because of gasoline. Partnering up with England to basically say, you know what, you don't need to run this country. We need to make sure that we have access to it. And at all those things, I do think, and what's made me crazy over the last few days, and I waited all day Saturday to make sure we had some sort of verification about the girls' school that was hit. I didn't run with it. I tried not to run with emotion. I'm not a journalist either, but every news outlet was, and they did say it was Iranian media, right? It was their own government releasing the information, but we do know that a girls' school was hit. And I mean, that's a way you radicalize people, is to massacre their children.
Yeah. I mean, and during Israel-Gaza, anytime anything bad happened in Gaza, it was Gaza reporting says. It's always whoever's getting bombed, media says, when the awful thing happens. That's always how they end up framing it. Meanwhile, when were it to happen in one of the allied countries, there would be no question as to who blew it up in the eyes of the media. So I don't buy any of that. We know who did it.
But what you were alluding to, Patty, is like we had an entire generation of Iranians calling us the Great Satan because we just crapped on their country and tore them apart and installed the Shah, who was corrupt as heck. And that's the reason the Ayatollahs came in, the right-wing government, is because we screwed up and destabilized their country. An entire generation of Iranians hated us for that. We kind of got better at diplomacy in the last 20 years with Iran, and kind of got to a place where we could talk. And now we've got a bunch of Iranian kids who see us not only bomb their girls' school, but they also read about us raping underage girls in our own country. It's like we are the Great Satan to them, and we've lost another generation of Iran and the Middle East. I think for our generation.
As I told you when I got back from Thailand, it was gone before then. It was a very I didn't feel threatened, but you can tell there is an attitude right now towards what America is that hasn't been felt in a decade and a half. And I have a feeling it's only going to get worse because, Mason said a bunch of stuff that I think we all kind of knew through conjecture. He just put actual facts and experience to. Yes. We're not getting out of this anytime soon. And someone called me today and said they think it's going to be pretty short. And I said, so did Dick Cheney. So I think I know where we're headed on this one here. So, it's not going to be pretty. That's for sure.
No. And the fact that we have any military leader saying that Trump was anointed by God to bring around Armageddon and the second coming of Jesus is enough to I can't even believe we're here. So thank you so much. We had earlier with us for the Up North podcast, retired Army Colonel Mason, who filled us in. And folks, if you didn't catch all of this, this is available on the Substack, Kirk. This is available for folks who go to the Minocqua Brewing Company's Substack, as well as catch all the work that we do there every single day. Thank you for your support for the Marketplace place on Kickstarter thing. I know a lot of listeners were a part of that, so thank you so much for that. Kirk Bangstead, thank you so much for putting this all together. Ben, always great to hear you on WHBY with your little app, whatever, out of Appleton. Thank you, everybody, so much. And thank you to our sponsors, Source Solar, Monaco Brewing Company, and Are You Really Winning? Love you, Lady B. Good night, everybody.